And we are going to find out how strong a pick he is going to be. Draft is ready. So for the first game of the final, let's head on into the draft.
So coming into this draft and trying to digest what you just told me, Elite 8 will be banning out their lands. I wanted to say, just very coincidental, if Elite 8 just instantly ban out their box, I'll go like, there you go, you see? Elite 8 respect this box as well. But maybe Elite 8 on the blue side don't have to ban out the box necessarily. They can just pick it up for themselves if they are very comfortable on the box. But hey, this is Southeast Asia. Everyone is comfortable on box, right?
Yeah, I would hasten to say that everyone is comfortable on box. And actually, Impunity believe that Elite 8 are comfortable on box as well, so they're going to ban it. I thought quite a decent draft from Impunity here would be ban the Black Feather, bait Elite 8 to pick Fox, then Impunity first pick Alpha, then second ban Rhyme. Then they have a perfect draft. They still got captains they can pick, but they've gone for this draft instead, leaving Lyra and Lance open. Sorry, Lyra and Arden open. So I think Lyra is most likely going to be picked up by Impunity now. There's no one else they necessarily need to take because they don't want to first pick Alpha now because then they just Bren Esports don't have to pick any kind of hard carry, and that would be a pretty good counter. They might second pick it depending on what Elite 8 do decide to ban. And so I think Impunity's pick, I think Lyra makes the most sense.
Yeah, it's either Rhyme or actually Lyra there. There you go. They have on the next pick as well. And with regards to this current draft that I'm looking at, it is roughly similar to the draft they had when they were up against J-Trex Inferno. Their entire team comp will be banning out the Vox, picking out something along the Lyras, if not an Alpha, banning out that Rhyme, and regardless of whatever bans coming out from the side of Elite 8, they can just instantly just lock in the Alpha for themselves, after which, unless of course Elite 8 will ban out the Alpha, because we know Elite 8 not quite afraid of Alpha. They have got official highs, it's very good on the Batiste, maybe can put out some miracle with that Batiste. But Impunity, we might just see a Gwen coming through.
Yeah, we might. I think that's quite unlikely for Impunity. There's still Kestrel open. There's still Black Feather has been let through this entire draft. So Impunity perhaps baiting the Alpha ban so they can pick Lyra Black Feather. That would be a really smart draft from them. Although I do think if both are left open, Impunity, both left open. So Alpha and Black Feather are both open. I think Impunity will take the Black Feather as a priority because then they have their laner who's not countered by Alpha. And they just have to last pick a jungler who's not countered by Alpha, such as Batiste, or such as no, but they're going to go for Alpha themselves. So now there's Impunity have got, Elite 8 on the A side. They've got to pick something to counter the Alpha and Black Feather. In short, I think that's the really the only draft they can do that will work. Weapon Kestrel, not good against Alpha, and not great against Lyra either because she can out-heal you. And so I think Batiste is a great pick, or I still think Ozo could work well.
Ozo definitely work well. If not, then like you mentioned, Black Feather is still on the table, but Elite 8 or Impunity not prioritizing at all. I mean, even if you do run a CP Black Feather, it will work very, very well. But then, of course, not against the Alpha, but we do see a Petal.
What? I don't know why you're laughing so oddly, but I kind of agree, because Petal's not a good pick against Alpha, at all. If it's Crystal Petal, Alpha gets 3 core charge stacks off the minions and will kill her with a Prime Directive. If it's Weapon Petal, Alpha gets 3 core charge stacks off the minions and will kill her with a Prime Directive. So it's going to be a Crystal Petal. Try and counter this Alpha. That's very risky.
Yeah, it will be a Crystal... Okay, it will be a Crystal Petal trying to counter the Alpha. And as you mentioned, a core charge will definitely take 2 or 3 minions down, or, Alpha can easily just build core charge, and then, as you mentioned again, if Alpha gets a 3-man Prime Directive, it will be a lot of damage. If not, then just immediately just delete a Petal from the foe, sending her, straight back to base, straight back to respawn, and have to reset all of her. But then Impunity taking out that Baron. Wow.
That is just in case Elite 8 decide to go for a Crystal Black Feather jungle in a lane Weapon Petal. Impunity have gone, okay, let's go Baron, and now late game, Baron destroys Petal. There's no question that Baron is better than Petal once you get to late game because he has just as long range, and he has more damage in a straight 1v1. And so that's a smart pick. Baron did get a nice weapon power ratio buff back to when he was broken before, but his defenses have been reduced more than other heroes. Baron was tankier than all other ranged carries, tankier than everyone else. Now he's back in line. He's back even with all the other ranged weapon power carries. So if they go Crystal Petal lane weapon Black Feather, that's a better decision from Impunity, because that means they can try do a snowballs tactic with a Crystal Petal and try and stop Baron being able to fire up with a weapon Black Feather. But the weapon Petal lane and Crystal Jungle Black Feather just seems countered in both ways. Weapon Petal's completely countered by Alpha and Baron, and Crystal Black Feather is never really a carry that's going to win you games.
Well, definitely. I mean, Crystal Black Feather is very unlike the weapon counterpart, the weapon build counterpart for Black Feather. Not a surefire way to actually just win games. And I personally think the weapon Black Feather will just do so much better into a Baron, because you can just stick to him. Whereas a Crystal Black Feather, yes, you have a similar kit, you have the same exact kit, but a lot of the kit, it works on burst. You need a Shatter Glass, you need a Broken Myth, and I think even in 2.9.1, the changes made to Broken Myth, I don't think it is quite as effective anymore. So thus, I think the Serpent's Mask into the Breaking Point, into the Bonesaw or Tornado Trigger will work the best against a Baron, and then you have your CP Petal for somehow, right, try to snowball against this Alpha. But overall, looking at the draft coming through, I really like the draft coming up from Impunity. They have got the early game sustain. They have got a soft CEC with a bright bulwark. And yeah, true, Arden can throw down Gauntlet, trapping Alpha within, with that of Black Feather and Petal. But you don't really want to be in the same room with Alpha.
Yeah, that's the real problem, isn't it? Because Alpha wants to stay in the same room as you, and Baron has level 8 overdriven jump jets can block one gauntlet, reflex block the echoed one, and then Baron's outside of both gauntlets. No matter how well you place them, Baron will be able to get out of both the gauntlets. So I think, as long as Impunity just don't get snowballed by this Crystal Petal, allow themselves to scale to late game, they should be absolutely fine in this draft.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Impunity looking very, very strong, and unless, of course,
in attack, he manages to run away from. That was calculated, I think you'll say. So what Bluxy did was he got 3 core charge stacks on the minions, was level 2 because of a well executed rotation with Death View. And then he had 3 core charge stacks, saw Official Hein, Prime Directive with 3 core charge stacks, massive damage. Bluxy started with the 2 crystal bit start, and that was well played by Bluxy. I think the Official Hein should have probably dodged that, maybe with a trampoline. But yeah, really, really good start for Impunity. We said they need to scale to late game, and they're already winning the early.
Yeah, I definitely think that Impunity, they have the better draft, to be honest. They went and picked up the Baron, who hasn't seen so much light this patch. Like, not many people picking up the Baron, but Baron still being a very good hero into this patch, I believe, with the changes, as you said, reverting him back to where he used to be a few patches ago. But it seems like a lot of the time they're just better picks otherwise to go for. But in this case... in this case, that box was banned out as a first ban, actually by the side of Impunity. More so, they didn't want to give that over into the first pick for the side of Elite 8.
Yeah, that's definitely Baron's a nice last pick on B side. It's not something to get. I really never want to get Baron on A side unless the enemy has gone for 2 carries on B side as first and second pick, because he is pretty easily countered just by something like Koshka. Early game aggression, snowball him quite easily. And Crystal Petal feels like she should do the same, but it doesn't work because Petal requires on minions, and Baron has splash damage, which is going to take them out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and as long as Quisi's up there in the lane with the Imperial Sigil, there's only going to be such small windows for Elite 8 to act upon, and we see now the Imperial Sigil already back up after previously using it to help DevQ get out of that fight, and it's just going to work well with the sustain overall. And when you're going up against a weapon Black Feather, that also makes a lot of sense that you want to be able to help match out that sustain. Although Lyra being the first pickup for the side of Impunity shows they were already thinking of going some kind of team comp with that Lyra and quite comfortable on it.
Yeah, I think that the Lyra was a really smart pick. It works well with the Baron in the end. It works well with most heroes because being able to survive in lane after you take an unfavourable engage is important in this patch, because the Book of Eulogies got nerfed quite heavily, and healing in general has been nerfed for quite a few patches in a row. So having Lyra just to keep you able to survive after maybe you make a mistake, maybe you overextend or get ganked, as DefQ is just staying back to make sure that doesn't happen. It's really important and really helpful to have a Lyra.
Yeah, and you've got to always look at the whole kit of Lyra there with the Bright Bulwark. When played well, you can really negate a lot of the engages coming out from coming out from the enemies, waste a lot of their abilities. That's what I was looking to say there. And also using it to try lock down certain enemies at times, as we almost saw Lyra trying to just stop them from getting away, but they won't be able to do so. We did see DefQ, however, able to make it back to base, picking up that Serpent's Mask as a first item with the Swift Shooter and Minion's Foot in the back of his pocket for a bit more damage.
Yeah, that's a Baron build that I've seen before in Southeast Asia, where you don't go Solar Blade first, you go first item Serpent's Mask, then build as a Baron normally would. So then you go into your Tyrant's Monocles, you go into your Tornado Trigger, and maybe a Tension Bow as well. It does work. It works really well, actually. The only problem is you don't have as much weapon power as before, as when you go for Solar Blade, so you don't have that massive burst damage. I do like it against the Black Feather. You know Black Feather's going to build Serpent's Mask as well. Pardon me. So just go for your own sustain on top of Lyra. And one really important thing to note this patch is you'd say, oh, Black Feather, just go Serpent's Mask, Poison Shiv, and then you counter the Lyra sustain, you counter the Serpent's Mask from Baron, perfect. But Serpent's Mask and Poison Shiv, the lifesteal doesn't stack anymore. You only get 10%, you don't get 18%. So that's a really bad build, is going Serpent's Mask and Poison Shiv in this patch.
Ooh, and we see Official Hind going in with the Prime Directive, or Blue City going in with the Prime Directive onto Official Hind. Ion Cannon going to drop down onto Black Feather, who's trying to jump onto DefQ, and he looks like he's going to be able to get out there. He has full Broken Heart stacks, but Blue City frontlining this fight, might be able to pick up a kill onto Official Hind, does open up a window for DefQ. And this is what I really like about the side of Impunity, that as well as having a good comp to react to the engage coming out from Elite 8 with that Lyra, and as I mentioned, the Bright Bulwark, if used correctly, can really help negate that. They also have a good engage with the Alpha on the front line, and Baron just able to pop shots off from the back line, and overall just liking the comp of Impunity much more. It's not to say that Elite 8 can't make the comp they have work, because they might be able to find those chances where Black Feather and Petal, if they're able to get onto the Baron instantly, and as you said, they need to win out the early game more or less, because if they let it go through to the late game as it is going now, it's definitely going to fall into Impunity's hands. So that's where I worry, and I think DefQ understood that, and that is another reason why to, not just to go against a Black Feather, but your own sustain in lane, because you know that Petal is going to want to always be looking for those opportunities to get on top of you.
Yeah, the longer Baron can sustain for, the more damage Alpha can do with multiple Prime Directives in a team fight, and obviously he's going to use a Termination Protocol. DefQ could be out of position.
Yeah, and we see DefQ does get caught out with a fair bit of damage, but the Bright Bulwark gonna hold the enemies off, and Blue City actually decided to go in, doesn't manage to get the Termination Protocol off before falling, and they are going to just fall to that Petal. Meanwhile, Black Feather diving deep under the turret. DefQ actually running away from his own turret to try to get out there, but will be caught up in the end, and it looks like Elite 8 might have that opportunity to turn things around now.
Official Hind trying to get killed to QC, but he baits him and does manage to pull it home. But yes, slight mistake from Blue City not using the ultimate in time. He used the Prime Directive, went in, and then tried to get another Core Charge stack. A nice Prime Directive hits Official Hind as well. Yeah, he tried to get another Core Charge onto the Petal, but in doing so did fall into reboot without tapping that ultimate. I don't think Impunity will mind too much that they lost that fight, because they knew that they made mistakes. Baron as well was slightly out of position at the start of the fight. He went down to almost dead just from slightly poor positioning, and I was not expecting this build from them, DefQ. Serpent's Mask breaking point on Baron.
Definitely going for that sustained kind of fight you were talking about. Not the build you were expecting, however, but still going for that sustain and really looking for the longer engages, especially when Alpha is going to be on that front line. As long as you're able to sit on the back line uncontested, you should be fine. But right now, Elite 8, their goal is really to get that Baron first. Just previous fight, they were handed the Alpha, so they took it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. If Alpha puts herself into reboot next year, you might as well secure that, especially given how low Baron was. It means that Baron couldn't chase you down. Sentry's going to be defeated by Official Hind first time 9 minutes in. Alpha's a little bit annoyed by that, but I'm sure won't be too disheartened. The gold lead is swinging in favour of Elite 8 by about 1,000. They were behind. Now they're pushing slightly ahead. It's not a snowball, but it is a slight lead for them.
Yes, there's a slight lead indeed. Both teams still very close, 2 kills to 2 and 20.5k on the side of Elite 8 over as to 19.7 for the side of Impunity. So still a fairly close game and anyone's game at this point, because Impunity are only going to get stronger into this late game. It can be said the same with the Black Feather and the Petal, but they really rely right now on Baron's squishiness to go through and pick him off whenever Queasy isn't around. And I think that you mentioned before, Impunity might not mind that previous fight, because from here I'm sure they won't go for, or they will try not to make those same mistakes. But right now, Elite 8 making full use of their aggression and that just, I guess, advantage that they had from the previous fight to now go and take as many objectives off the back of it as they could. And there's going to be the gauntlet going down, trapping Blue City in there, but everyone trying to run away from them. They're just going to cut around them, and now we'll be able to, might not pick up the kill. We'll see Hanyegas, however, going under the turret, picking up a double kill. Just massive on this Black Feather right now. And meanwhile, Official Hind was able to finish off Blue City after the reboot.
Well, that was certainly unexpected from Elite 8, turning it around, winning that fight so decisively. The fantastic trapped Alpha inside Alpha without a reflex block until now. Just picked one up and tried to prime directive onto the healing Treant. But then the gauntlet just trapped him and stopped him from being able to go over that wall, which was a smart play. And also, Hunyegas, with his Atlas Pauldron, able to stop DefQ dealing a significant portion of damage. He picked up 20 breaking point stacks near the end of that fight as well, because he started on Alpha. The members of Impunity were slightly split. Alpha obviously trying to steal the gold mine by himself. And now they're looking for another fight. Elite 8 feel like they can win this. They're already now 5k gold ahead just after getting that gold mine and the ace.
Well, Elite 8 have been doing a good job of taking those objectives continuously after that previous fight and kind of continuing to push that window of opportunity. They really understand that if they're able to close out this early game, that, or at least make good progress in this early game, that it will mean they have a more of a fighting chance into the late game. And it's surprising, this might be the end of the Alpha 100% win streak for today.
Yeah, it might be. Alpha building up some nice score charge stacks though on those minions, and Petal has lost all their stats at the moment, which is an interesting build. Alpha has not been able to pick up the Dragon's Eye yet. The Sentry is there for Impunity. They are here. They are ready to defend this final life of the Sentry. DefQ can try and steal away that Treant, not able to get it. I think that was secured by Petal. And now Elite 8 just rotating wherever they want, whenever they want. And Impunity have realised, right, we need to focus. We need to stick together, and we need to take a good fight on our terms, not on their terms.
Yeah, definitely. And we see that Elite 8 being rather cautious and not showing themselves in the lane just yet. They want to get an understanding of what Impunity are doing as well, because they know they cleared out the whole jungle of Impunity. So right now, Blue City can't be doing much other than hanging around with the rest of the team. And now Elite 8, knowing that Baron went back and that they're not going to push through, are going to clear out this wave. But whether they're going to push for more, that is the question, as we see Official Hind and Anime Sami going down to the Crystal Sentry, and they managed to get the elimination on it. As you mentioned, it was the final life for that Crystal Sentry. And now we do see the pressure coming through by Elite 8.
DefQ almost caught out, but he's going to jump this away. Bluxity's able to pick up his Dragon's Eye, which is a massive power spike for Alpha, but is it too late? Jungle once again cleared out by Elite 8. That was slightly poor timing from Impunity. Bluxity thought he might be able to sneak home for that Dragon's Eye before being able to farm his jungle. I think Impunity needs to take a fight. They're not in a bad position. As long as Baron stays on the back line, Alpha deals the brunt of the damage, then they could be okay. But this is a good time for Impunity to try and force a fight.
And they don't. They tried to get the Imperial Sigil in there after scout trapping it, but they really haven't been around any objectives soon enough. Elite 8 with great map control and vision control overall haven't even really touched their own jungle. Official Heinz still managing to sit ahead of Blue City, however, because always doing the rotations through Impunity's jungle seems to be enough to keep him ahead. You'd think that maybe Elite 8 could go and get more out of this, but they decide they're best to stick together as a team and continue moving as a unit, because they don't want to give up any mistakes over to the side of Impunity either, because they surely will still be respecting that Impunity have a chance to turn this around. Just as you said before, Impunity really not looking for a fight. However, Elite 8 just going after objective and objective, landing the gauntlet, and they're going to go in. There's Black Feather on the back, but whether they're going to back out now looks like it could be so, and they're fine with that. I mean, Elite 8 now at 35.8k over to 27.6, really fine the lead and constantly clearing out the jungle from Impunity, meaning there's going to be no more progression on Blue City for this Alpha, really stalling out that late game power spike.
Yeah, this is the problem with what Impunity are trying to do. As I said, when they were 4k gold behind, they go for a fight, take it on their terms, not on Elite 8's terms. And now they went, no, we'll just wait. And now Elite 8 are 8k gold ahead, pushing towards 9,000 gold ahead now with taking that jungle away. So now Impunity are in a much worse position than if they were fought a bit earlier. So they've got to try and steal this Kraken. What's going to do to play?
And it doesn't look like they're able to. Elite 8 are going to secure that. That's Black Feather jumping onto the Baron instantly. Pell going to be able to pick up a kill. Blue City goes into Termination Protocol, but is left surrounded by Elite 8, who are going to get them before they even manage to get back out of the Infinite Reboot. And Queasy, the last one standing for Impunity. Meanwhile, Kraken soon to be pushing in, and we see Official Hind able to cancel the recall, and they are going to push Queasy further back into that base. They might even just go for this first turret here to help the Kraken push and really make sure they secure it with this first Kraken. I mean, only 16 minutes in at this point. Elite 8, ever since that first fight that they won, they started going off the back of that on objective, and taking everything away from Impunity here. But only thing remaining to do is push in with this Kraken. There's going to be the gauntlet to go in. They still have the fountain for Elite 8, not wanting to use it just yet, but they're going to have to, as Hunyeger's going fairly low to this Baron, but might win out the duel, and it looks like he will just barely. He gets the shutdown, but Queasy going to, Queasy probably getting that shutdown onto the Black Feather, but Arden still alive, going onto this Crystal with the help of Kraken. Should be enough damage. Anime save me just buying time for the Kraken at this point, distracting them, and we can see that even by getting the ace, I don't think they have the damage to take this Kraken.
No, they don't. And
one more, two more hits.
The Alpha win streak has been defeated by what we all thought was an inferior draft. In the end, it was not a good early game. Alpha got the early game lead, got the first blood, but it was just a mid-game, a mistake from Impunity, an out-of-position Baron, another mistake with out-of-position Alpha, and Elite 8 just turned the snowball around and ended up winning the game. So well played in the end to Elite 8. They pushed their advantage really well, took the backs, took the jungle, kept taking sentry charges, and made it just really hard for Impunity to turn the game around. I felt like Impunity kind of just let the game run away from them. They didn't try and turn it around, because by not fighting, you're not going to scale to late game. You're just going to let the enemy increase their gold lead by when it becomes unbeatable. So I think, Impunity, a little bit too scared.
Yeah, and you've really got to give it to Elite 8 for that match, but some teams can manage to get, like, the kills at the start, you know, even though we thought the side of Impunity might have been the ones to win it out based on the draft. Once they got that first team fight that they won, some teams will just, you know, leave it at that and not go for those objectives, maybe be too afraid or just not able to utilize that potential that they had. And Elite 8 did it perfectly. It's just such a fluid rotation the whole time, and it really shut down that Impunity team comp, and more so that Alpha, as you mentioned, did get shut down. So we'll have to see whether Elite 8 can, pull something off like this into the next match. And if they manage to get ahead, whether Impunity are going to just let them do so again, or if Impunity are going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, another real problem was that DefQ decided to build Serpent's Mask Breaking Point, which I thought, okay, it can work. Maybe they're going to try and keep the fights lasting as long as possible so he can build up those stacks. But by doing that, you're trying to beat Blackfeather at his own game. That's not how you win a fight as Baron. Baron is not designed to be a sustainable character who can keep fights lasting a long time. Baron is designed to be as much burst in as short a period of time as possible. That's what his jump jets is all about. That's why he's so slow. That's why his A is not very useful on weapon power. You're meant to build Soul Blade and then lots of crit, lots of burst, maybe a tension bow. And so by trying to beat Blackfeather at his own game, Baron just played, didn't do any damage. And so in the team fights, it was all on Alpha. Blackfeather was literally just diving Baron, 3 breaking point stacks, and then it was an easy fight.
Yeah, definitely an easy fight from there. And it does bring up the question of, if Elite 8 are going to play this well, does it really matter what draft they got? Because I could say I definitely thought Impunity had won from the draft. I saw the potential, a possibility, but I was kind of saying that I really think Elite 8 had this. They've got the alpha, they've got the late game, and I didn't think it would fall apart so quickly for them. But in saying that, do you think that we'll see maybe a Blackfeather ban come out? I saw that being quite a strong key to the engage coming out from the side of Elite 8.
Yeah, that is true. They did let the Blackfeather through till the 3rd pick of A side, which is something we haven't seen in most of the games. Blackfeather's generally been first banned on A side or first banned on B side, and if not, just been first picked. So I think the Blackfeather ban is definitely something that could happen from Impunity or from Elite 8. And so I think that's a smart decision to just get rid of it, make sure that they don't let Blackfeather through. Because in the end, they really lost that game because of the Blackfeather. Petal was very helpful at snowballing Alpha, but if Baron was allowed to scale up to late game, Petal would have been nothing. So it was all about Blackfeather being able to dive into Baron and kill him. But we are going to find out about this second draft, because draft is ready. So without further ado, let's head on into the draft.
Yeah, so into this second draft this time, we do have Impunity on the blue side and instantly going for that Blackfeather ban.
Yeah, we were wondering if they wanted to prioritize it. Yes, because why not ban Blackfeather if they don't want to play it themselves? It countered the Baron so easily. I doubt that Impunity will pick Baron again, but Blackfeather counters most of the laners you want to play this patch. And in response, once again, we see a Vox ban on B side. Pretty smart. You don't want to. We said that Elite 8 needs to ban away Vox from Impunity, and so they have. This pickup is probably going to be an Arden from Impunity. They like to pick Arden as A side. Most teams like to pick Arden whenever he's left open. That double gauntlet or double Vanguard, so useful, and it really helped Petal and Blackfeather in the previous game.
However, we might see a Lance pickup. I do think it will be a focused captain pickup for this first one, but which one we'll see it is answered as the Arden is picked up. Now, leaving a lot open for the side of Elite 8 to take as their first pick. Any assumptions here?
Yeah, I think it might be a Lyra. Lyra does really well against you shut down all of his CC, and you can portal out of his gauntlet as well. So that's really nice pick. But they're going to prioritize Kestrel instead. That is not expected. So it's quite a good carry with Vox and Blackfeather off the table. Kestrel will do really well against almost anyone. I think Jewel could be a good pick from Impunity on A side to try and go against that Kestrel, but it will be tough. The cruel ban does tempt the Rhyme ban from Impunity, because if Impunity let Rhyme through, then Elite 8 can happily pick it, knowing that there aren't that many Rhyme counters on the fold, and it's a great Alpha counter. Even though Alpha didn't win, it's still a strong pick. Just if Rhyme is let through, I think it'll be picked up on B side.
Yeah, and now is kind of a question: do you ban the Alpha or do you ban the Rhyme? Alpha and Rhyme just both still being very strong picks at the moment, as we've seen. Those are my two guesses for this ban. I don't really see the ban going elsewhere. But It's not like we'll see, say, a petal ban come through, and please don't prove me wrong. Okay, if they're going to go with the Lyra, it leaves both those picks open, and now it leaves aside of Elite 8 to go for the second pick, which I would suggest going for Roam, because you don't want to hand out too much to counterplay here and just go off the table of what you want for the final pick. With Alpha and Rhyme still being on the table, Rhyme could also be a good pick if they want to go for that jungle, however, as their second pick.
Yeah, I think I think Rhyme would still be the smart pick, because Lyra's banned. You know that Impunity aren't going to pick away your captain. Impunity are going to pick a carry and a jungler for themselves, so you can safely last pick whichever captain they would like to pick now, unless they want to go for the counter pick option, which is all right. I just think that letting the Alpha and Rhyme through isn't the best idea, because now Impunity are free to pick Rhyme as a jungler, works really well against almost anyone, and they can pick whichever lane they want. Crystal Idris would work, maybe Ringo. I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think Jewel would work really well against this Kestrel, and that'd be a reasonably good draft for Impunity. Or Petal.
Well, they are going to go through with the Petal pickup, and this leads us to believe that, well, Petal as the jungler? I mean, it could always be that weapon power Petal.
That'll be a weapon Petal lane. I'm pretty sure, because it's all right against Kestrel, and there aren't that many other weapon power laners left.
In that case, do you think they'll go for the Rhyme pickup? And it does look like they'll do so.
I'm going to say yes to that.
Knowing that the side of Elite 8 has that Grace, I think Rhyme, whichever pickup they decide to go for with the Petal and Rhyme slot, picking up that Rhyme at some point at least was a no-brainer, because Grace is going to have to jump into your team comp at some point with the Benediction, so having that Rhyme there is really going to work out for them. But now we see the side of Elite 8 wanting to keep their distance, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to with that Scuff, because the Arden is there for the side of Impunity, and if they give the Vanguard onto this Rhyme, they can easily jump in there. Also, Petal uses Trampoline. They've got a fairly good engage for themselves, and you can't forget the Gauntlet. That's, you know, a part of the reason why Arden has been just such a good pick for the first pick spot.
Yeah, the Impunity ban on Lyra was a really smart ban, because if Elite 8 get that exact same comp, but with a Lyra instead of a Grace, they have won the draft. Lyra is fantastic with double poke comps, because she can just heal you up. If they try and engage, you portal away, bulwark, you're under turret maybe, and that's a winning fight for you. Whereas with Grace, you have two heals, but you're not really helpful in disengaging with your team. You can engage really well, but if you try and disengage, they can just dodge your B, and then you're kind of stuck out in the open. Your teams run away, and you're not with them. So that's really, it doesn't work as well, but it will work all right. I think it's all about, no one's really won this draft specifically. It's more about execution, because Kestrel and Scarf, if they're allowed to poke against this Petal and Rhyme, they're easily going to win. But as you said, if Arden just jumps in with the first Gauntlet, jumps in with the second, War Treads, try and dive in onto either of the backline, doesn't matter which one, then it can be Impunity's game pretty simply.
Yeah, and that's the thing here, that once again, I'm looking in favor of Impunity's draft, but you're right about that. It really comes down to execution and how they're going to be able to play this, because if Elite 8 happen to win out an early game team fight and continue to get maybe an early turret, and from there make those similar rotations as to what they did the previous match, you could easily see the Scarf ramping up a lot quicker than he should, and Kestrel, of course, with the Glimmer shots always doing a lot of damage throughout most parts of the game. As long as Grace is able to peel for that Scarf, I think is quite important. And the Kestrel, as you mentioned, because the side of Impunity really looking for either of them to jump onto, but I would kind of think they would go more or less for the Scarf if they had the opportunity. There is the one thing to worry about for Rhyme is that goop. I think a lot of the time, as long as his Winter Spires land and he goes in with the rest of his team, that there's going to be enough damage to just take Scarf out before that really becomes a problem.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of engage. Rhyme is the one hero that will have a lot of trouble trying to engage. Then again, Scarf has the exact same amount of disengage as Scarf has engage, which is boots, and that's pretty much it. Scarf does have an ultimate, which gives him and his allies a bit of a speed boost, but that's not really going to help. Because you don't ultimate and run away on Scarf. If you do, then you kind of lose almost all your damage, because that 60% shield pierce, if you overdrive your ultimate, will be really important to try and deal as much damage as possible in the late game. The Goop will be kind of important for Scarf to try and run away from this Rhyme, but the Valkyrie, again, from Rhyme will be just as important to catch up. And if Rhyme gets on top of you, you've got to block that chill winds, otherwise you're pretty much dead. Weapon Petal will trampoline in 2 basic attacks and you've gone from full health to half health. That's how Weapon Petal tends to work in the late game. And so, yeah, it's going to be reasonably passive. I think Rhyme might try and be aggressive against Scarf early on, because Rhyme can go aggressive in the jungle. We can try and invade against, especially against the Scarf. But I don't think we'll be seeing too much aggression, especially from the Petal.
Yes, especially I think they're going to wait for that level 6 where Arden has his gauntlet available to them, and they're going to be more aggressive then in those team fight stages. The only question is if they're going to be allowed to get to those stages. As of before, where we speculated that, the Baron and the correct me if I'm wrong, was it Black Feather was on the team.
Baron and Alpha.
Elite 8. Baron and Alpha, of course, for Alpha losing out for the first time of today. And that was kind of questionable, that we thought these guys would definitely be able to make it to the late game. I mean, it's Impunity, the second top team, but Elite 8 is playing so well today. I mean, they made it to the finals for this first, for Split 2, the first 2 days. First week, I should say, and they're doing a good job so far to really bring the fight to Impunity. I would be very surprised to see them win it in a 2-0 fashion, but the possibility is there.
There's a possibility. We're going to have to see and find out if Elite 8 can win the second and possibly final game between these two teams. It's a reasonably strong draft. It's all about execution. We have now loaded into the Halcyon Fold. So we're going to find out how Elite 8 are going to try and stay till the late game, try and poke, try and survive for as long as possible with this Scarf, who will really ramp up. But of course, you've got to be careful about Weapon Petal. She's not the kind of hero that's just going to sit back and fall off late game.
Yes, definitely not. And with that, we actually see fairly passive rotations coming out from both sides, starting at their backs, and Grace actually being the one to go up to lane and start to take some gold away for themselves, I guess, deciding rather than standing around staring at the outer Triantas, going to start putting some work in and pushes that lane forwards. Now means they can rotate down to the rest of their team and help them secure this mid Triant. But meanwhile, Grace has joined with the rest of their team. A lane Grace, you think it could be possibly, but Hanyega's getting caught out on the backline. DefQ going fairly low as well. In return, Anime Save Me going to be able to pick up the kill onto them, but it looks like a return kill from that return kill going to go down, as Ryan just destroying everything here. He loves the close quarter fights, especially with that level 2, is going to be able to pick up all 3 kills for their team in that first fight.
Now that was actually a really poor rotation from Anime Save Me. Yes, you pushed the lane, but look what's just happened to the lane by pushing it. DefQ has missed a few CS, but Hunyegas has missed absolutely tons. So this is a real problem with the lane at the moment, is unless you push the wave into turret, then by pushing the wave, you're going to give your enemy laner a massive wave, and your laner is going to be stuck behind on CS. The gold lead is going to be 1,000 after this wave is cleared out by DefQ. And what is Hunyegas going to do? He's on 1 CS. That's it. He can't do anything. And DefQ missing a minion there, kind of nullifying my point. But that does mean, I suppose, you can try and push the turret, I guess, early on. But you're really not going to do anything, despite having a Scarf. And this is Bluxity, as you said, what likes those close quarter battles. He's 3-0, got a triple kill at level 2.
Yes, well, I did mention the fact that Elite 8 probably looking to win out the early game And it's a similar fashion to what they wanted to do in the last match. Anime Save Me going in there with the benediction, almost catching out DefQ, but forcing them to use their boots to get away from that. DefQ also having to be careful of this Kestrel with those glimmer shots going through. DefQ fairly low on the back line. There's a protected contract in Quisi's pocket, however, and Blue City roaming up to that lane will help indeed. And now we see DefQ being forced to back already. Might give Hunjägers a bit more of a chance to catch up in that farm that you mentioned they missed out on so early on. We see Hunjägers still sitting at 11 CS over to DefQ's 19. Is a slight difference there. And Anime Save Me going deep under the turret isn't going to be able to lock down Quisi. They are able to get out there alive and use their potion to stay fairly healthy.
Yeah, DefQ has been missing a couple of CS in lane because the weapon battle is quite hard to farm with early on. Your minions deal annoying amounts of damage. They don't do enough to secure minions, that they do enough to just muck up your CS completely. And DefQ can push the wave a little bit, but Blixley on 23 CS is doing perfectly fine for himself. And I may say he could be out of position, but he'll be okay. And yeah, Blixley's just farming up pretty much whatever jungle he wants. If he wants a bit of Scarf jungle, he can go to it. If he wants his own, he's going to go and farm that up, and he'll be level 6. Probably after his back rotation. Yeah, once he gets his backs, he'll easily be level 6, but he doesn't want to go there. He wants to help lane. No, he's going to get that, so that'll be a nice power spike for Blukesty. If he comes to lane and gets that Valkyrie down, it'll probably be a killer to Kestrel.
Well, Blue City actually ahead of everyone. DefQ only catching up just then, being even with Blue City, who's actually got 32 CS at this moment, and quite a bit. That's just massive for the jungler to have that at that point, especially when Hunjägers is still sitting back at 23 CS at 4 minutes in. It really looks like Elite 8 are going to be struggling on the economic side of things, and meanwhile, Blue City going to have this early power spike because he's been farming so well on this Rhyme, just going to help him out that much more. He's able to get that Shatter Glass 4 minutes 30 in, and that's really going to help him out. We see DefQ also, if they back now or go down to shop, should be able to pick up that Sorrow Blade. So both of them just so much ahead of their counterparts on the enemy team of Elite 8 in this match.
Yeah, Official Hide is about 700 gold away from getting a Shatter Glass. And Jaegers similarly is about 1,000 gold away from getting, no, about 500 gold, sorry, away from getting a Sorrow Blade. And that's a really big power spike. We see the about 1.5k gold lead, and right now is when it translates to items. I say this quite a lot, but it's really important because it's pointless having a gold lead if you have exactly the same number of tier 3 items as your enemy. You all have, everyone has a Sorrow Blade, everyone has a Shatter Glass, then it doesn't matter. Right now is when it matters. So Blukesty, they should know he's in that bush. Yeah, they're going to play him out, spot him out, and so this is a good time for Impunity to fight, despite the wave being slightly pushed. But are they going to go aggressive?
Yes, and it would be a good time for the side of Impunity to fight. The only problem is, unlike that first fight where everyone was close together because it was a bit miscommunicated and everything, Elite 8 getting caught out initially, and that really helped Rhyme get those 3 kills at the start of the match. One shot, 1 kill does land onto DefQ, however. They really need to wait for Quisi to get that gauntlet so they have at least some kind of zoning and form of stun and CC. You could say that they had the Valkyrie there on Blue City, which they use onto the backline, but Anime Save Me will use the Holy Nova to save the rest of their team and allow them to escape back to the turret for now. And you see Hunjägers just trying to apply some pressure with those glimmer shots. However, Elite 8 not rotating to the jungle shops instead. They are going to go to their backs. But next time they go to those shops, you see the gold has built up. Even though Impunity still have the advantage in terms of gold, they're now going to be caught up on items and lost that window of opportunity to really have a good fight where they'd come up on top.
Yeah, Impunity will still be ahead on items, but technically they were ahead on tier 2 items. Scarf going in, Harvest for the Shatter Glass straight away. DefQ, bit of poke on Hunjägers, but they're not going to go too aggressive with that. And now DefQ is trying to farm up by himself. Nice scoop from Scarf. Lucy's level 8, so that's a nice overdriven Winter Spire, giving him so much more poke against this comp, and he's going to land not quite the first Winter Spire. But yeah, so the tier 2 item advantage that Impunity have got isn't massive, but the infusion on Blukesty is quite important. DefQ can pick one up, but he probably wants to work towards that Tornado Trigger as the first item. Kestrel sneaking around, trying to get some glimmer shots. Nice Winter Spire, 390 damage on that first hit from the Rhyme Winter Spire, because he went for that Shatter Glass first. And Elite 8 are like, nah, we can just farm our backs up. So Impunity are going to try and push this wave up because they know Elite 8 are going to farm their jungle. And Blue City still on 48 CS, doing quite well. But look at that CS difference from DefQ to Hun Jaegers.
Yep, and Quisi now with that level 6, as they were pushing those minions in, they are going to get a fair bit of damage onto that turret, and I'm sure now won't be too afraid to fight. However, they did lose that initial item game that they had. We do see DefQ will probably be able to now get their second tier 3 item if they're able to shop. Elite 8 trying to not let that happen. They're looking for the fight, but Quisi with an amazing gauntlet into the Valkyrie, and they do catch out Anime Save Me as they're using the Divine Intervention into the Fountain. Hun Jaegers on the backline trying to escape, can't get away from DefQ with that trampoline, and it looks like Anime Save Me going to go down next. Official Hein, the last one on Elite 8, but DefQ on this weapon power pedal doing a lot of damage there, forcing him back into the lane as Blue City picks up that Crystal Sentry. Now need to be careful as Official Hein putting a fair bit of damage onto them, but it looks like they'll be able to escape with their life. Quisi also getting caught out, but should be fine, more or less. Now I would see after that second fight that they've really gone into, Impunity looking to push down this turret and then start to push their advantage.
Yeah, they couldn't have got the gold mine because Bluxy was too low. DefQ had to home, but now they really should try and get some objectives after these team fights, not just get the fight nothing. That tier 1 turret is looking so juicy, so low, and DefQ on this Pew Pew Petal is working really well. One shot does hit, but it does nothing thanks to that Vanguard. And yeah, DefQ is farming quite well. I think he could have been slightly further ahead, but really it's not that much of a problem because he's definitely ahead of Hun Jaegers. And now Impunity should try and seize this tier 1 turret, because if they don't, they're just going to let Elite 8 back off. The real problem that Impunity have got is Rhyme cannot just dive in against Official Hein because they're just going to back off their turret. And so what Impunity needs to do, they need to take down this tier 1 turret, and that means that it's so much easier for Impunity to dive in, knowing that Elite 8 can't just back to that objective.
Yes, there's so much more of the map available to them, especially to take team fights and engage in team fights. It's not just simply having that area where you can rotate through. It's more about, as you said, that area where you can actually start to make plays in. And with Quisi having that gauntlet, just such a big ability, really helps out with the zoning there. And if they're able to commit into a fight, knowing that they'll be able to chase up on Elite 8, it'll be a lot better because Quisi already has that echo. If it's used in this kind of proximity, they still might have the chance to make it back to the turret. But once that turret's out of the way, it's really easy for Impunity to chase through as a whole. And we see even there, Blue City able to sneak up onto Hun Jaegers. There's the turret going down. Quisi going to go in instantly with the initial gauntlet. And wow, the Valkyrie decimating the Kestrel. Meanwhile, Official Hein on his own in the jungle, basically leashing that gold miner for Blue City, as Blue City going to come along and secure it. Might even secure Official Hein's life if they get the chill wins onto them, and it looks like they'll be able to do so. And yep, Petal just going to jump
with the kills for the kill steal. I like that from my Petal. You jump over the wall and secure the kill because Rhyme Scarf was just running around Rhyme. Look at that! This is weapon Petal.
There is not any defense for Hun Jaegers, and this is how I've seen some teams play before. I believe we might have seen it yesterday with certain teams, and when you're so behind the enemy in the early game, you try to match it out with attack items, but that enemy team already has that just aggression and control of the match. It doesn't really matter in the end because they're still going to be that much further ahead of you, and that little bit that they're ahead of you is going to mean that they're going to win out when you go for the damage. Yes, maybe sometimes you'll get a lucky shot off, but against a team like Impunity in the finals here, they're looking a lot more coordinated than the last game and in a lot better shape. But it's kind of a mirror from what we saw last time with Elite 8 playing it so well, so coordinated. But in this case, instead of Elite 8 not doing anything about it, they are still trying to go for a lot of offensive items there and match out the damage. But the only problem is I don't think they'll be able to catch up at this point.
Yeah, I think that definitely is a problem because Weapon Petal, as you saw, just bursting through Hun Jaegers like he wasn't even there. DefQ going to wait for that reinfusion in the base, and This is definitely a one-way to play Weapon Battle. As I said, you go Soul Blade, double Tornado Trigger, and then Tyrants, and then probably build a Heavy Steel, work towards either a second Soul Blade, or maybe a Breaking Point, or just pure out damage. Why not? Maybe a Spell Sword. It doesn't really matter at that point. Once you've got 4 damage items on Weapon Petal, you can build pretty much whatever you want. And if Jaegers doesn't buy defense items, he's going to be in a real tough position. I think Impunity, the smart move is to take Goldmine, take Sentry, force another fight, because you know they're going to win at this point. 9-1, and that's a massive gold lead.
Yep, a massive gold lead indeed, as they are sitting at 31.8 over to the 24.6, and it looks like they're going to increase it even more as they take this Crystal Sentry, and they actually managed to eliminate it already. So it's not even 15 minutes in, and Impunity are basically doing what Elite 8 did to them last match now.
Yeah, the Petal is the snowball machine. Weapon, Crystal, doesn't matter. You're going to snowball if you have a Petal. That's what we're finding out in this final game. And it looks like Impunity, if they continue as they are now, Petal, already 4 completed damage items at Tier 3, are going to be able to snowball this game to a 1-1, hopefully for them. Now they're waiting in the sneaky bush. But I don't think that Elite 8 are going to go anywhere near them. I think Elite 8 are going to wait till Kraken spawns and then maybe look to one-shot it. And apart from that, I think they're going to go so defensive that this gank might not even work.
Yep, we'll have to see. Wow, Elite 8. Wow,
why?
Impunity showing themselves just too late. Maybe being a bit greedy, wanting the farm instead, are going to go for it. And in that situation there, I think that if Impunity had waited a bit longer, they might have just won out the waiting game. And right now, they left that turret open completely. So surely it was tempting to the side of Elite 8, but they must have known something was up, and they did wait it out that much longer. And in this case, you said they really have to just wait for Kraken overall, which will be up in another 30 seconds. But whether Elite 8 will that, especially with no defense items, you've got such a small window of opportunity to go in and put that damage down without falling yourself.
Yeah, I think that Jaegers is in a real tough position because Petal just has to see him, jump with a flare, and that will be a dead Kestrel. There's nothing Kestrel can do. Ultimate from Grace probably won't be enough unless it is a very speedy ult. That's one thing Grace has to do against Weapon Petal, is as soon as she jumps, you have to be ulting immediately on your carry. Because Petal will be attacking when she jumps, and this is it. The Kraken, Elite 8 are going, you know what? Let's go for it. We're 10k gold behind. If we let them get the Kraken, this will be game. We might as well try something.
Yep, and we now see Impunity starting that Kraken, but is there going to be any chance for Elite 8 to make a counterplay here as we see the Gauntlet going down, the double Gauntlet, and it's going to catch them out. Official Hein on the backline is the last one left standing along. Anime saved me, but not for long, as the Divine Intervention not going to be enough because the onslaught coming through by the side of Impunity is just too much. They're looking for Anime Save Me, but Anime Save Me actually doing a good job to run away, try not to give away this ace. They just need to stay alive. Another 7 seconds for Hun Jaegers to get up, and this might be all they need to have one more shot at really fighting against this, because now that the side of Impunity aren't pushing in with an aced up Kraken or aced up lane, they are going to be less threatening, but still with only 2 turrets remaining, it's looking very dire indeed for Elite 8.
Yeah, Defkey wants to pick up that Slumbering Husk. He is just about able to afford it, I think. Yeah, once he gets his front camps, he'll be able to get that Slumbering Husk, which will really help out if he ever gets out of position. But Scarf's taking this Kraken down a little bit by little bit. Grace needs to ult Hun Jaegers as soon as he gets jumped on, because the ultimate was saved to Official Hein in that fight. By that point, it was already too late. So that could change the fight, because it will help. The 40% damage reduction will help an awful lot. And here we go.
Oh, and Kestrel game bursted down instantly, forced to run back to the base there. An Official Hein not really able to land the Goop or Spitfire onto anyone. The first turret going to go down. They have to really take care of this Rhyme as well, who's just roaming around on his own. But Petal being the one to put out so much damage with that Soul Blade double Tornado Trigger. And we see Hun Jaegers trying to challenge them for a fight, manages to get them, but gets shut down on their own. Meanwhile, Rhyme just not going to die anytime soon. and he's going to be able to finish it out, taking the crystal, taking down Scarf. And that's GTG to the side of Impunity, taking that game 12-2.
He's not 81 anymore, but he will also not die. Bluxty, flawless on the rhyme, and DefQ, yeah, he died twice, but I think that was fair enough, considering the fact that DefQ was on about a quarter health, and Jaegers was full health after a Grace Ultimate, and then they still traded each other's lives. That's pretty awesome. Impunity really showing how to snowball the game, and I've got a feeling we're going to see a Petal ban next game because it just won both games with incredible snowball potential. Maybe it was the rhyme in that game, though.
I kind of joked about it, to be honest. I joked about it, saying, "Oh, are we going to see maybe a Petal ban first because they took so long with that?" Before we got into that, and I did think that, of course, the initial ban would have to be that of the Black Feathers. The second ban that I talked about was, are we going to see a Petal ban? But instead banned out that Lyra, as you said, which really helped play into their team comp, because maybe if the side of Elite 8 had a Lyra instead, might have been able to win it out. But I think overall great drafting from Impunity that time, and really able to utilize their comp. No real turnaround or surprises there. So with that, we will be streaming the third match, of course, between these guys, and I don't know what to say. Do they have to go for a Petal ban, maybe first or second?
I don't know. Petal wasn't first picked, so there is the option to pick it on B side if A side don't first pick it. But maybe that is the play. Maybe just get rid of it. I think there's a high chance that if it's not first picked, it will be banned in the second phase of bans. Just because Weapon Petal is so annoying to play against. Doesn't really matter what you've got. It's so hard to play against that. Baron does work well against Weapon Petal, but then, of course, as we saw in the first game, push that Petal to Crystal Power, try and snowball in the jungle, and put, obviously, Blackfeather in lane was a really helpful addition to the team. I don't think Blackfeather will be let through, though, because I think even though Petal was good, I think Blackfeather was better.
Yes, I think we'll see similar. I'm not sure. Maybe the side of Elite 8 could just let this Blackfeather go through the first. They don't have to ban it initially themselves, and they could try pick it up instead.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a smart play on A side. You want to try and just first pick Blackfeather. There aren't any hard counters to Blackfeather on the fold at the moment, and so that means you can try and pick it up, bait the enemy to have to ban it, and then you maybe get your Vox for yourself. Maybe you get the priority, another priority pick. So the Arden has been a priority for every team in the final. Both drafts, first pick Arden, and that Arden has won. So maybe we're going to see a high priority on Arden if they force the Blackfeather ban, maybe ban Lyra themselves on A side. And so that is that's a couple of possibilities. I'm sure Elite 8 will be thinking about that, thinking what they want to do, what they want to try and get. But draft is ready for the final game, the guaranteed final game of today. Without further ado, let's head on into the draft.
And so with that, we are in this first draft, and for the first ban, as we mentioned, doesn't have to be Blackfeather. It is going to be that Lance, but now the question is, are Impunity really going to let that go through? Because it is why I mentioned, and what they obviously noticed last time, because they instantly banned it out as soon as we moved into draft, that I believe in the first match that Blackfeather played such a key to the whole comp, but it is also these teams that seem to get Arden on them also do well. So there's a lot at question of whether, if they do let the Blackfeather go through, whether it's going to be a Blackfeather or Arden initial pickup.
Yeah, that is very true. We've seen, I think Elite 8 would be happy with either. Yeah, they'd be pretty happy with this. Expecting Blackfeather ban, they're going to pick, and it's a draft that they're going to be happy with. They're going to have expected that ban, but no, they're going to take away Vox from Impunity. Of course, Elite 8 are quite good at playing Vox themselves, but I definitely think that's more of a ban away, and now Impunity respond. Arden pick and Lyra ban, so the meta captains are off the fold. I would love to see a Churnwalker in this last game.
Yes, that's always an opportunity to pick up a Churn Walker, but we'll have to see how it plays out into their team comp. And it was what you expected before. If the Black Feather gets banned out, it does leave Vox open as the preferred laner to pick up instantly. And there's going to be that Petal ban coming out from the side of Elite 8. So respecting the Petal, and they're going to just not want to deal with it, knowing that they might not get it themselves. And here, with the second pick coming through for the side of Impunity, what could it be?
Yeah, the pedal ban, that's definitely a respect ban. You don't want to play against it. And as a side, you're unlikely to be able to pick it because I'm pretty sure that Impunity would have just gone, yeah, let's first pick Petal. That's a good idea for us. So second pick Petal on B side. Now there's a couple of options that Impunity could go for. Alpha's still available. They're going to pick the Kestrel, so that's a Kestrel v Vox 1v1. Very close matchup between those two carries. I think I'd have to put the edge on Vox in this current patch, mainly because of Sonic Zoom being able to dodge the Kestrel Glimmer shots. Then again, Arden with Kestrel will be better than anyone else with Vox because Lyra and Lance are out of the way. I think Grace is the most likely captain that Elite 8 are going to pick up to try and pair with this Fox. They're going to get the Rhyme. Crawl is still available, so I think the smart draft from Impunity here is pick up Crawl, go double weapon, Crawl in the jungle, and that would still be a good draft even against this Grace.
Yep, and there's the Grace to finish off the team comp for the side of Elite 8, but Impunity responding to that one with the Sky pickup and really putting Rhyme at a bit of a disadvantage. It's going to be a lot harder to get onto those carries. And with that Arden there, I'm not too sure about that Rhyme as a second pick, really, especially going against, you already know they have the Arden. He's going to have the Gauntlet, the Vanguard, everything to really get his team out of fights. And it's not really looking like they need to engage right up in your face with the heroes they've chosen. They've both got ranged abilities with the Kestrel and the Sky, so it's going to be up to Elite 8 to play their comp aggressively and find those engages off the back of Grace, perhaps going in with Benediction into the Holy Nova. Might want to follow that up with a Valkyrie, and that could be something they're looking for. Of course, Vox could open up some windows if he gets the Wait For It off, but I think Wait For It is a lot more usable, not as an engage, but once you're kind of in the middle of a fight, if that makes sense, because the enemies are a lot closer to you.
Yeah, it definitely could be tough to go up against this Arden as a Rhyme. Early game's going to be tough against the Vanguard, trying because his carries are most likely going to stay alive. And as you said, level 6, Gauntlet will really keep Sky at range. But it's going to be tough because Rhyme is really good against Sky if he can just get close, get just next to the Sky. I don't think the Vanguard will be enough to keep her alive. Winterspire with the chill winds, Rooter in place, she's going to take so much burst. And if the Valkyrie lands on either Kestrel or Sky at level 6, then that'll be a pretty easy fight for Rhyme. We're going to see, almost certainly we're going to see level 1, take your backs together, level 2, fight for this Treant. And if that happens, Rhyme is going to win that fight for the Treant. You might not secure it, but if they decide to do a team fight after, Rhyme loves close quarters. Everyone has to be close quarters to try and steal the Treant away, and they've got a Grace to try and properly engage.
Yeah, I think if anything, if we're looking to early game, which team might win, it will be the side of Elite 8 with that Grace and that Rhyme just being very aggressive. And as you mentioned, close quarters being in favor to those two heroes. It's going to help them. And we saw in the previous match between these two teams where I can't remember, it was Blue City Rhyme picking up a triple kill basically at the start of the game, taking everyone out in that fight just because. But you're right, if you want to contest for that mid cap, and so many people do, you don't just want to let it go over to the enemy team a lot of the time unless you're going to play passive, but you're already putting yourself behind by doing so. You know, it is going to be that much easier for Elite 8 to start a fight or get on top of the fight, whether or not they manage to secure the mid Treant or not.
And speaking of wanting to get that Elder Treant, we see Impunity going as 3 to that mid Treant, and Anime Save Me has got boots. Will he be okay?
And they are going to use Benediction towards those front camps. And look at this. Instead of, you thought that maybe both teams will start at their backs. And I think Impunity read that, knowing that, okay, it's more than likely Elite 8 are going to start their backs. So they have that level 2 for the Rhyme so he can lock us down when we get to the fight. How about we just avoid the fight initially? And they did manage to actually catch out Anime Save Me, pushing them away from that outer treant and managing to just secure it nice and cleanly for themselves and then go into a reverse rotation. So I really liked that thinking from the side of Impunity.
Yeah, they clearly knew that if they did the backs together, went to the Elder Treant, that would benefit Rhyme. So just go for something different. Level 1, Rhyme doesn't really want to fight you. Yes, he gets fortified health, but he can't lock you in place if he does get on top of you. And so, yeah, Impunity going to go for a backs rotation. Elder Treant has now respawned, and once again, Blue City rotates down on the clock. Rhyme's at his backs, and Impunity are going to get an early game lead with this rotation. They just keep doing Elder, backs together, Elder, backs together. But Grace wants it.
Doesn't look like they're able to find it. Instead, the first blood going to go over to the side of Impunity, just helping them out that much more. And things aren't really looking good for Elite 8 in that kind of early start. Of course, the rotation's already so much in favor of Impunity, and you mentioned Blue City instantly rotating down to that mid-camp to make sure they can secure it. And they just happened to find Anime Save Me there who wanted to contest it. I'm not sure if that was such a smart move, giving over the first blood. Instead, they could have helped Hanyegas up in this lane push it a bit more, but now the whole team of Elite 8 are going to be focusing on this turret, but there isn't too much they can do as they don't have the damage just yet, and not so many minions underneath that turret.
Yeah, so Impunity, now what about 1k gold ahead? That has quite spawned yet. Blue City's going to sit and wait for that. Really nice timing on his rotation. And one way that you can actually counter the Elder Treant rotation where they go to the Elder first is either just go as 3 to it and try and have a team fight. But if that doesn't work, you can try and send one of your carries to their jungle, or maybe your captain to their backs, try and sneak past them and contest it. The problem with that rotation is if they then start their backs together, you are in a bad position. So it's really you have to make the guess of what rotation you think they're going to do and how you think you should counter it. And if you get that guess wrong, then you put yourself at even more of a disadvantage than they are currently at.
Yeah, so it's definitely a bit of a risk and reward kind of play there. And we do see Elite 8 going for the more, I guess, safe play by putting all their members up in this lane, trying to look for the turret as the first objective instead. Official Hind just getting kited out here by Blue City. Anime Save Me might look to go in with the Benediction, but there's going to be a pause. I don't believe anyone was AFK, but perchance it could be Def Q as they're standing near the turret. It's my only guess at this point.
Yeah, each team does have 2 minutes of time per game just to sort out any technical issues or any problems they maybe have. The iPad ran out of battery. Be a bit of a problem to try and fix, but you never know. So we're just gonna wait to let the players try and fix all of that. What do you think Blukesty is going to go for his first tier 3 item? He's got working towards Heavy Prism, Eclipse Prism, working towards either Shatter, Frostburn, Dragon's Eye, or Spellfire. I don't think we're going to see Spellfire, but what do you think he's going to go for?
Well, I think it could be the Frostburn, unlike when going against an Alpha, as you mentioned before, and I was thinking it to myself during the match that going Shatterglass does make sense in that situation because this Frostburn really won't be of that much use as Alpha's really able to jump onto you easily. Unlike Alpha, Rhyme is a bit slower. He has to get right up in your face initially, so the Frostburn wouldn't be a bad pickup in this situation, I think. And a first pickup could also be a good idea for that to stop Elite 8 from getting any early on team fights. And just overall a good item to start with. Maybe could even help you secure some kills of your own, with Def Q making it easier job for them to land the glimmer shots. So I think just a good team synergy item there.
Yeah, I think Frostburn definitely could be reasonably good first buy for Blukesty. I would prefer to see Dragon's Eye first. We've seen that quite a bit on Sky. I think it will work well because the fights are going to last against Rhyme. You're going to probably be able to keep your Dragon's Eye stacks quite a lot. and so that could be a really good decision. But then again, it's really up to him what he decides to go for, and anything could work. So we have now unpaused, so hopefully everything's going to be all sorted. It looks like Impunity looking to be a little bit aggressive in this lane. Rhyme is going to his backs.
Yep, we do see Rhyme as backs. Meanwhile, Anime Save Me taking a fair amount of damage, and Def Q, after pushing that lane up, are going to rotate, go back to that base and pick up that Sorrow Blade. And we do see, similarly, Hanyega's sitting on 2,000 gold as they go to the jungle shops, are going to be up to pick up their first tier 3 item. So neither team apart at this point, really, after the first blood going over. First blood? I guess it's just the first blood going over to the side of Elite 8.
Well, you can't have a second first blood, so yeah, I think that's blood. And Impunity doing quite, they're trying to freeze this wave because Sky isn't there. Turns out it's going to go Dragon's Eye, so me, instead of siding with you for this game, trying to keep those Dragon's Eye stacks up, fighting as long as possible. And there we go, there might be a team fight, but Vox is going to port home, and he was spotted. One shot stops him though. It's a good time for Impunity.
A lot of damage coming through there with the one shot, one kill, and now Hanyega's low on that back line. Anime Save Me does not have the fountain just yet, and Hanyega's is going to be up to clear out that wave, and now probably looking for the port back as we see the side of Impunity backing out of that fight for now. Actually just stealing some of the jungle away from that Rhyme and continuing to put down the pressure. Hanyega's is back at a decent amount of health and should be able to defend this turret. We see Official Hein making the rotation around. Is going to use the boots and uses Valkyrie. It doesn't stun out anyone, but it is enough to get on top of Quisi. However, Blue City able to kite back far enough and survive that team fight for now. Impunity still looking to apply the pressure on this turret. They really want that first turret in this situation.
Yeah, I think they are going to get it. Vox has ported home. Rhyme is in no situation to do it. Def Q, Sorrow Blade, Glimmer shots into the tower, easily able to pick that one up. Pushing the gold lead for Impunity up to 2,000 now, which is really good. They also have that map control, meaning Gluxty can probably get quite a lot of Rhyme's healing camps, the front healing camps, so that's really important. And Official Hein hasn't got a tier 3 item. He can afford a Shattered Glass now, but 6 minutes in, not having one already is not a good thing considering Sky had hers for that fight, which is why I always say fight when you've just picked up your items, especially when you're ahead, because you're going to have the tier 3 item advantage and you're most likely going to win that fight.
Yep, and we see Ryan now picking up that Shattered Glass, so it does open up a opportunity for Elite 8 to try engage here, as we see them going in with Anime Save Me onto Def Q, trying to find the Holy Nova for the knockup, but Quisi going to be able to jump back to the rest of their team, and Blue City holding a fairly good front line for their team on this Sky, surprisingly. As you said, they want to be in that fight as much as possible to get those stacks on the Dragon's Eye that they decide to pick up initially. And I think it is a bit more of an aggressive play to go for the Dragon's Eye, but it will work out against a Rhyme that is going to be alive longer, and as long as you're able to continue kiting around them, you should be fine. The only moment when you won't be is when you get locked down by, say, if Grace is still up in the CC chain that the side of Elite 8 has available to them. We've just not seen that kind of form of communication or synergy through their team yet, or a real good chance to dive in on the enemy team of Impunity.
And one shot comes out looking like Impunity want to try and push this wave and maybe even force a fight. They are ahead. Rhyme is in a close quarters battle. Rhyme obviously excels, which means Impunity can't force a fight with a Gauntlet as they would with most Ardens. They're forced to just try and poke, build up some Dragon's Eye stacks, probably around 4 at the moment. And if there's not a good point for Impunity to fight, they cannot force and engage. Whereas normally on Arden you just go, right, let's Gauntlet in, let's fight. Because if Sky and Kestrel Gauntlet go in with the Gauntlet, Ryan will just say, thank you very much, I'm going to get a triple kill. Luke's infused, and DefQ has got one in his pocket, so Impunity do want to fight at some point.
Yeah, especially for the side of Elite 8, they don't have a bad draft at all. In fact, I was thinking that they might be the ones to win this one out with the draft that they picked up. But so far, you could say it looks like it's in Impunity's favor. They have that initial kill. They have the gold lead sitting at 19.3, and they took that first turret away from Elite 8. So Impunity definitely in the best standings right now. However, they can't just, as you said, go so deep in on the enemy team. They're working at more of a poke comp and just whittling down the enemy and opening up these opportunities to take these objectives.
Yeah, Sky trying to poke with that forward barrage tick, doesn't quite make the end reach and gain some Dragon's Eye stacks up. So Bluxy's still waiting, going to try and seize this tier 2 turret now. FQ, nice glimmer shots onto Official Hein. And he's waiting. He's going to go to engage.
Ooh, there's going to be the Valkyrie, but the Gauntlet trying to save his team, allowing them to get away. DefQ and Blue City able to back out of that fight, but DefQ just raining the glimmer shots over the wall. One shot, one kill does go out, but isn't going to be able to pick up anything. And now we see Official Hein going back to base. Should be able to rejoin the fight fairly soon, but whether the rest of Elite 8 are able to hold off the turret, it looks like they shall. And now Impunity deciding to go back, at least DefQ on Impunity, and Blue City, Queasy maybe looking to steal some more farm away. Blue City doing a great job on this guy going up against the Rhyme, sitting at 59 CS over to the 45 of Official Hein, and also managing to steal a lot of that away from the Rhyme is just pushing them ahead further.
Yeah, the problem with Impunity at the moment is that they were 2k gold behind, 2k gold ahead, sorry, quite a while ago, and now they're still exactly the same place in the game. Official Hein is not being snowballed. They bought 3 infusions, whereas Elite 8 only bought 2. So that is kind of helping Elite 8 and Anime Save Me get towards that. Echo probably isn't not working towards it yet, but once he gets that, it will really help out Jaegers and Official Hein, so they can both have an ultimate. And Bluxy's looking like Eve of Harvest next item. It works quite well. It hasn't got much crystal power. It's only got 55 crystal power on this Eve of Harvest. He's got to choose between that and an infusion. I think he's going to build the tier 3 item instead.
Yep, and there's an Eve being picked up by Blue City, and DefQ not with quite enough gold to pick up anything yet, but already with 2 tier 3 items, having the Sorrow Blade and Tyrant's Monocle in a pretty good spot here. However, we do see Han Jaegers matching that. Actually, even at farm, both of them at 112 CS right now. So you're right that Impunity haven't really taken advantage, even though they're stealing away this farm from Official Hein. They're only putting the Rhyme at a bit of a disadvantage, but as long as Rhyme is able to get in there and land the roots, he's probably going to open up that kind of opportunity for Vox to get around and get the damage on, especially with the breaking point now is going to be a lot better at kind of in these long drawn out team fights, whereas DefQ looking for quicker team fights with that burst.
Yeah, I think that DefQ is just going to be on the back line poking, forcing a Grace ultimate early as possible. So hopefully they can force a Grace ult before Vime actually engages. That would be the perfect fight for Impunity, and that's what they're aiming for. Double infusions now on Kestrel and on Sky, and there's going to be a tower going down. This is a fight.
And the Gauntlet does drop, catching out Anime Save Me. It might be enough, as we see before. Barrage doing work, and Sky able to pick up the kill onto Rhyme. Now moving on to Han Jaegers, and you can see that Dragon's Eye really going into play here, as Han Jaegers so low right now. It's going to get taken down by the Sky. Blue City just doing work, and I was surprised for Eve of Harvest as the second item pickup, more so for, I'd imagine, the energy benefits you can get from that, as well as the healing benefits if you ever get in a fight. But Blue City did not take any damage whatsoever in return when chasing down that of Official Hein and Han Jaegers. So you can see there, going for the Eve second instead of a Frostburn actually paid out pretty well, because it does mean Blue City can stay in these fights longer and just able to find those 4 barrages, luckily enough, that they don't have the speed to get away from it. You'd think Vox would be able to, but in that case, the Divine Intervention wasn't even enough to save him. Yeah,
the Frostburn on Sky is kind of good, but caught out on this Arden. No, he's going to back off Sentry. He's going to boots away. He'll be fine. But yeah, the Dragon's Eye did so much work, so many stacks being built up, and Vime got absolutely bursted down. Vime is actually not, he's similar to Krull in the fact that he's not that tanky until he gets his damage off. When Vime gets damage, he gets 45 health. Krull gets his weakness stacks to get him more tankier, but Vime doesn't. And Official Hein, although he's caught out.
And we do see Blue City going fairly low, but it looks like DefQ has enough damage to pick up the kill onto that Rhyme. And now, with the man advantage, are going to chase down the rest of Elite 8. And there's going to be the double gauntlet catching out Anime Sabi, who's just getting hit on the edge of those 4 barrages. Blue City repositioning themselves with the Surrey strike to pick up the kill. They won't be able to find Hun Jaegers this time, so not going to get the ace just yet. It would be very much, I guess, if they were able to do so, a key opportunity to finish off that anchor turret. But they are in a good standing already, being 0-5, although quite a passive game. Impunity able to win it out, and I think this is what we've been noticing from Impunity in especially Split 2 so far, is seeing how passive they play but controlled.
Yeah, they definitely know how to play together. Like Blue Sea just farming that minion was fantastic. Over the knew exactly where the minion was going to go, followed it with the 4 barrage, didn't waste any time thinking where that was going to be. And yeah, Official High he's built an Eve of Harvest now to try and sustain. I don't even know if that's going to help him out, because he's just getting bursted as soon as he's seen by DefQ or by Blue City. He gets maybe 1 Winter Spire, but in the time it takes Winter Spire to travel to Sky, he's been hit by 2 Glimmer Shots from Kestrel and is basically dead. And so that's a big problem for Rhyme, because you need those Winter Spires to get your fortified health up. And DefQ is doing quite well. He's got his 4 damage items completed, but he is quite out of position.
Ooh, Anime Semi is going to jump onto them with the Benediction. There's going to be the Valkyrie catching out Quisi, but they still managed to pick up the kills at the end of the day. They managed to get Anime Semi on that Grace, and it looks like it was Rhyme going to trade out with that Sky, but DefQ still left standing, able to pick up the Ace and Quisi there as well. So now they're going to move on to the Kraken that just came up.
That's good timing for them.
Definitely good timing. I don't think it's very planned as DefQ actually being the one to get caught out, but it shows that even with Impunity getting caught out at this stage, they were able to turn the fight around.
Yeah, they're quite far ahead. I don't know if that tier 3 tower, not quite. I think MSAP might be able to stop it. The 1-shot 1-kill was available, but no, it won't do enough damage to the turret. DefQ's going to save it. And DefQ, who needs defense? I'm going to go for 5 red. And he needs to get an infusion, so he needs to get a couple more minions to be able to do that. And it does kind of stop the Kraken push a little bit, but I'm sure it will be okay. And yeah, DefQ is going to be way far behind. Blue Sea is going to try and get Dragon's Eye stacks, and Official High knows that DefQ isn't there. Now they know exactly where he is, so Elite 8 are going to be happy taking this Kraken quite low. They're trying to try and push Sky, building up the stacks to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, 1-shot 1-kill did reveal DefQ's position, but the rest of the team of Impunity are going to push that turret down without much contest from the side of Elite 8, actually pushing Hun Jaegers right back into the base. If that Crucible wasn't used, I believe he would have fallen in that case. And now we do see that Kraken going to take the turret and is already under half health, looking fairly low at this point. I'm not sure if Impunity can finish it off right now. They are going to back away from the fight, forcing out the Valkyrie from the Rhyme, and there's going to be the Gauntlet. They go in with the damage this Grace of this Kestrel with just so much damage on those Glimmer Shots, almost taking it, really looking for more at this point. Does take out the Grace, and now Official Hein very low on the backline, gets caught out in the depth from above, and Sky takes out the Vox and the Arden to get the ace. They finish the game. Impunity just playing that one so clean and controlled, but you really have to give it to Elite 8 in that first match for pushing this to a 3-0. We could have easily have seen it be a 2-0 in favor of Impunity with how they played the second match and this one, but well played to Elite 8 and well played to Impunity to just control that match so much, and the courage coming out from DefQ to go with no defense whatsoever and just continue to go for that offensive pressure with the double Tyrant's Monocle, Sorrow Blade, and Tornado Trigger, probably looking for what looked like, you can see it's the piercing, I'm not sure what they call that one. Piercing dagger?
Spear or shard. It's spear or shard. Which one? Which one's weapon, which one's crystal?
Spear, piercing spear.
Yeah, piercing spear. Well done. Piercing spear.
Yeah,